Hey guys, happy Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Having a good Monday and a great day. All those fun things rolled into one. Welcome to the show. And we're going to be having a great talk with my buddy Jay here. So, no laundry list, no outstanding things. There are some probably obvious things that we might talk about later in the stream, but that's not what this is about. I've known Jay for the better part of 2, 3 years now, and I consider him a very good friend. He's one of my favorite people in the world. One of the best reasons to live here in Dallas Fort Worth. So, without going too into great detail, without him on the screen, I was going to bring him on the screen. So, welcome one and all, Shady J, to the show.
Hi,
How's it going,
how's
pal?
it going? Good. I'm actually just trying to social media all this stuff right now. So you caught me with my pants down a little bit.
Hey, at
But that's
least you're
good.
wearing pants. I have shorts on, so it's totally fine. It's
I
good.
mean, you're not wrong about that.
Staying on brand. Gotta have the shorts. Sylvie said he'd block me if I wore pants to the premiere, and he didn't. So I don't
Hmm,
know what that
interesting.
says about the situation at all. And I mean, right away, Billy's like, I'm out. I mean, it's a thing. So I just want to real quick say hello to everybody in chat. I got a bunch of people here. I got Bjorn Jorgensen, Daniel Carnahan, Jim Largo. What's up, buddy? Ian Sweeney, Suze, of course, she's right there.
Okay.
And I see Mr. Nerd Rage shit. And I got Gojatron, and I
Interesting.
got Inyashi, and Texas Threats and Picks. Welcome.
What's up,
And,
Quadrimoto? I recognize some of
Max
these names.
Booba.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Me
off.
too. GGGG. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
go Jimmy
Quadrimoto in my
Salzberg.
streams, like Hunchback of Notre Dame kind of thing. But shout out, Game Chasers are in here. I'm out. Okay, interesting. Wow.
Yeah, well, that's how it go. That's the way podcasting go. All right.
Right, right.
So, reason I've got you here. I mean, aside from just we've been saying we're going to do this for a while and probably doing it.
Mhm.
I thought it would be interesting to discuss nostalgia as a concept because you've made a career out of nostalgia on some level, right? Between the fact that obviously you guys started the Game Chasers a decade ago, you've done the Toy Chasers, Exploring the Unknown, all of these things um, certainly call back to a certain time period, whether it's the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then, of course, you've got the background for Retropalooza. You're a big staple on the convention circuit, which is, all of these things harken back to remembering things when they were simpler, maybe even more fun, and subjectively, possibly just overall better. So I think it would be best to just get right into the subject matter. We can get all the interviewee stuff later because most of the people here probably know who you are. I'm not going to bore anyone or yourself with questions you've heard a billion times. So when
Well,
you
one, I
look at,
appreciate that because, yeah, I mean, you know what the
yeah,
thing is, though? I do hear a lot of the same questions, but I have to understand that the person asking hasn't heard the answer, and that's why they're asking. So
right.
it's just
I
something
have
that kind of goes
some
with
of
it.
them have right. I have some of them have, and we'll try to. I'm hoping through the course of the conversation, we'll get the getting to know you stuff's just going to happen. So when we talk about the 70s, 80s, 90s as it relates to you and what you do,
Hmm.
um, for you, what's the appeal? Is this something that calls back to childhood? Is it something else? Tell me about what you think of when you think of the past.
Um, oh, the Melbourne's in here. What's up, Vinyl Den? So the past for me, and the reason I even got into like collecting, and I'm going to be honest, it was Billy came over to my place one day with a box full of Atari
Hmm.
stuff, and me just kind of being honestly petty. I was like, "Well, I want some too," and he was like, "Well, go to the flea
Hmm.
market with me next time I go," and that kind of kicked it off. Of course, started I bought an NES and then a Genesis and started getting all the games that I had when I was a kid, which wasn't a lot. And then before I know it, I'm like 100 games, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Um, for me, when we're talking games specifically, it's they're still fun. They're still fun. My favorite game of all time is Super Mario Brothers 3. I can still put that in, and I do play it a lot actually, when I'm streaming and stuff. It's just a fun game. It's a fun game. It's fun to find stuff that you didn't know was there the first 7 million times you played it. I used to do speed runs on it, and albeit not great or anything, but I have there's a lot of games, a lot of old school games like that for me that are just they're just fun, and if they're fun, why not keep playing them?
Right, but it kind of goes beyond that in many ways, I think, because you're not just a fan of games. You don't just collect those. You also collect toys. You're big into that. I know you
Yep.
have a big love of older movies too. So I think it all kind of has that umbrella focus. I certainly collect both of those things in addition to games as well. I mean, obviously, I got some Canon Films DVDs back here and all these toys and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that each of them scratch a different itch, whether there's a memory attached to the film or the toy or the uh, game. Regardless of which game it is or which toy it is you're holding in your hand or what movie you're watching, how would you describe what is commonly referred to as nostalgia? To that, what does that word mean?
It's feeling like you did back then is what it is. That's probably the best way that I can put it, and that's probably why there are people like me and you out there. And it's like you said, toys from GI Joe. That was my main toy line growing up was GI Joe until about '88 or so. And then I transitioned into Turtles. VHS tapes. That was just the way we watched videos, movies whenever we were younger. You're a little bit older than me, aren't you? A couple years.
Yeah, I'll be 45 this year.
Okay, so I'll be 43. So and with the video games, it's the same thing. It's that feeling of coming home after school and getting yelled at to finish your homework, and then once you do, you can jump on the Nintendo and play Popeye or whatever the case may be, or Paperboy or whatever. It's taking you back to not necessarily a simpler time, but it was a simpler time. Now we're going through all the same stuff our parents went through with bills and trying to figure out how we're going to make it and this and that and everything else, and we didn't have to worry about that back then, and no child should have to worry about that back then. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's simplicity, I guess, is the word. And what's
So,
up?
so for
Hang
you,
on, I saw Carbonite Dreams. How's it going, man?
yes, good to see you. And for those of you who've never come into this stream before, welcome. I'll bring up comments as we go through. I see you. I love you. I'm not ignoring you. But we're going to have the conversation and flow things through, and there will be a Q&A later on in the show. So don't worry. I got you. All right?
I'm
No
here as
problem.
long as you need me, man. So if we run an hour, 2 hours, it doesn't matter to me. I'm here.
Okay. Well, we'll see where it goes, and I got you for at least 90 minutes. I'll tell you that much. That's
Let's
kind
do
of the
it.
jam around here. And if it goes longer, I'm in like Flint. So, um, and Steven says that they're 50 and very proud that we youngins love the same stuff. So there you go. Fair enough. It's fair enough. I get that stuff all the time. It's like, well, you're only as old as you feel, and that kind of comes back to this stuff. Like first thing I see when I see that Iceman figures, I think Spider-Man has amazing friends. I go back to being like 5, or 6,
Right.
and just really getting into this whole, just that feeling of, again, it was simpler. You didn't have as many things you were worried about, whatever. But there's just a raw kind of joy that comes with it, I find, and that doesn't diminish. And to kind of look at like the convention, let's talk about conventions in general and how a lot of the retro stuff, like like Retropalooza,
Mm-hmm.
you can walk around Retropalooza or any of the good cons, and I'm not going to go on a long list, but you can walk around for 10 minutes, and as a time machine, you lose 10 years off your life at a minimum, if not 20 or 30. Um, and it's something that certainly it can become a business. It certainly there's trappings when you're dealing with that sort of a thing. What do you think keeps you putting the con on? What keeps the energy going? Because I know that it's a stressful thing for you. I've watched you set it up. I've watched you turn it down. I've helped you on both regards. Like where does, because you put so much work into it.
Mm-hmm.
Why keep doing it?
First and foremost, I love doing it. That's and again, I don't want to be generic here, but I actually genuinely love putting conventions together. And I mean, I think it's funny because I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grow up, and I still really don't. But I think this is it. I love doing it. I love people, walking out happy. I love people going, "Oh, I have too much shit in my hands." And can we cuss on here? Probably.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, so I like when people go, "Hey, I've got too much shit. Can I run to my car and put this stuff back, and then come back and get some more?" I love everything about it. It's fun. it's a way of living too, which
Hmm.
definitely helps. But again, first and foremost, I just genuinely love doing it. So that's why I keep going.
That's
You
awesome.
gotta, you gotta, you gotta like what you do. If you don't like what you do, then do something else. And I really like what I do.
Exactly. And the income portion I was about to shoot down. I was like, well, the money wouldn't mean anything if you were miserable all of the time. And by this point, going into several years of doing it, I've noticed even just in the couple times I've been around, that it becomes like kind of a well-oiled machine in the same way that creating content does or anything else. Um,
Right. Right. I mean, I've got my vendors that I use for certain things. If I need backdrops, if I need, my badges done, my posters printed, all that kind of stuff, my t-shirts, I use the same people, use a lot of local people too. Definitely support local business. If I can get it done here, then I get it done here, for a multitude of reasons. One, again, support local business, small business. Two, if something's messed up, it can be fixed immediately instead of let me send it back, which is that can be a huge, huge, huge headache. So I definitely like to get stuff done local if I can. But yeah, like you said, I've been using the same convention center for, oh God, I've been doing this 10 years now. So this will actually be
mhm.
my ninth show here in DFW in October because, 2020. Um,
Right.
take that year out, but I've been used the same convention center since year two, the same hotel since year two. So they know me. And like you said, it just gets easier and easier. My layout hadn't changed on like my table layout. It doesn't need to. With the hotel, basically they just need the dates and how many rooms and send the contract over and, I sign it and I'm good to go. The people that I deal with at both the convention center and the hotel, they're competent. They're not morons. And I've dealt with some morons, which helps a lot as well. It's kind of the same situation down in Houston. I've used the same convention center there since year one. I moved once and then I went back. And this will be my, oh my God, I don't know, fifth, sixth coming up in May in Houston. I'm not sure. But I've used the same hotel. So now with, acquiring SoCal Retro Gaming Expo, it's slightly different. That con never really had a permanent home, so I'm trying to make sure we find one. And not being in California is difficult. It's difficult to run the Houston show at times, not being there. But I got people in Houston that I can call if I need anything done or they need to run down the convention center for me or whatever. And it's just a little more difficult in California because I don't have as much help as I would like down there. I still have help, but not as much as I would like. So, we're going to get that. This is year one. It's a bounce back show. They haven't done anything since 2019. So hopefully it'll go good. And I'll say this, it is going pretty good right now. So,
I was going to say it looks like it's actually kind of coming into its own, and it's certainly just based upon the social media presence alone, it has a retro palooza kind of a feel. Um, and I wasn't sure if you acquiring that was public knowledge. That's why I didn't say nothing. So there you
uh,
go, SoCal
yeah,
Gaming
at
Expo.
this point, I think it is. And I do have a partner in that one. That can be at times a little challenging because I'm used to just making all the decisions. And I don't mean challenging in
Right.
like, I don't feel like, oh, I have to run this by somebody. That's not how I feel at all because my partner in that one, I do have a lot of trust and faith in. Um, but it's a little different. So I hope
Hmm.
I'm doing what I'm supposed to do on that front and not, being too me and control freak on it. So
Well, you never, ever, 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 ever.
absolutely.
Speaking of control freaks, hey Kingsley, no, I'm just kidding.
Kingsley, what's up, buddy?
What's up, dude? Um, but it was interesting. Like I realized that with the landscape of everything, that conventions in general, they're a calculated risk. And I think that there's a certain, we talk about collecting bubbles all the time. But with conventions, I have to wonder how trustworthy numbers are in a post COVID world where the first year it's like everyone's like rushing back. Now we're kind of getting a little bit of normalcy. Do you
Mhm.
ever worry that there's going to be maybe a convention bubble from a post COVID thing? Like, what do you think?
I worry about that every year, pre and post COVID. It's not because of COVID that I worry about that. It's the fear of the unknown. And unfortunately, when you're running an event like, you know, a gaming convention, sci-fi convention, anime convention, whatever it may be, you don't know. Once you get a little bit of a following going and a reputation going, it puts that fear a little more at ease. But you know, it's like YouTube. Everybody could wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? Fuck the Game Chasers. We're not watching anymore. Everybody could wake up
Right.
tomorrow and be like, you know what? Fuck conventions. We're not going anymore. There's always a fear of the unknown there. But again, I've been doing this 10 years. I do, if I can toot my own horn a little bit, I think I do have a good reputation as a convention. And just the way we treat our guests, the way we treat the attendees, and the way we treat our, you know, volunteer staff and everything else, I hope at least. And you said there's, you know, kind of a retro bluesa field vibe going with the California one, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
But I will say this: 2019 was really good. The October show that we just had was really, 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 really good. Interesting, isn't it, Super Retro Gal? It was good.
Interesting.
Attendance was really good, and I'm actually super optimistic about SoCal Gaming Expo because the pre-sales have been good. The tables, we've actually sold more tables than they ever have in the past, so that's a really good sign. We're right around the 100 mark on that in totality. If you count guest tables and everything else, we're going to be like over 100 by a lot. Speaking of Super Retro Guy, that is my partner. If those of you who don't know, in the SoCal convention. But it's been it's good. I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic about the SoCal show. I actually can't wait to do it. Be my first one running out there, so that'd be really, really, really good. So,
Yeah, because you've had a lot of success on the West Coast in general. Because I know that in the early days of where you would just do the circuit, you guys were always on the West Coast in some regards. So to kind of go there and kind of get to, you've seen how it's done on the West Coast. You know how you normally do things. Do you find that it's kind of you're blending the two ideologies?
I think yes. It's different, man. It's different everywhere. You know, California specifically is so much different than Texas. You know, and the
You
way
think?
I mean, I know the way things are done, you know, maybe even what's expected from place to place, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to go, okay, let's take something from this Texas kid and put it over here and maybe we can do something right. You know what I mean? And it can even be little things like in the past, they've never really done event t-shirts. We're doing event t-shirts. They've never really done house tournaments. You know, I do my tournaments with the trophies and all that. We're adding that in.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do as many as, you know, I would do here or Houston, which, you know, take things slow right now. It is a bounce back year for it. I think it'll be great. So I definitely think I can add to the experience that they were already, you know, the great experience that they already had. The previous owners and Super Retro Guy, she was a big part of running it in the past, and they've done a fantastic job, and I just want to add to it. So,
and that's awesome to keep something going as a business owner to be able to do that. And I do want to bring up this comment from Joe Dickerson because that kind of will. It's way. Look, they're going to watch it afterwards too. If they're not going to see that comment because I throw the trap. Never mind. I'm just kidding. But he says that he's grateful that the Game Chaser is still around. Members joining the Volky live streams almost 10 years ago.
Oh wow,
back
that's
that was
taking it back. Wow.
Now, what I'm
it was vocal VOKLE. That's taking it back. Anyway, sorry I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. But part of the reason I brought this up is not just because it's a very interesting thing to point out. There's a crossover. So Joe is very prominent in current toy circles.
Okay.
And Joe is working on something right now that is mind-blowing. And actually is the reason I have a Boba Fett and a Darth Vader sitting here. Okay. He's working on this 3D printed, more or less built from scratch. He's doing the entire Bespin Cloud City in scale for 3 3/4 inch.
Interesting.
It's never been done outside of mini stuff. And it was something where when I started doing toys, you might have heard me say like, I'm not doing Star Wars. That's too much stuff. And I would want to, I like to curate. I like to kind of focus a little bit. There's very little I'm a completist on. But when I heard about this thing and I saw it, I was like, well, I'm just going to have to get a Bespin now, aren't I? And just get just the figures that kind of surround that area and the vehicles and populate that. That'd be an awesome display piece. Lots of fun. Um, Obviously, you collect toys. And if you only base it on the show, uh, obviously, G.I. Joe is a big thing for you. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously. But I know that you like your Star Wars. I've seen you look at Transformers from time to time. But I've never seen your toys on display. And granted, it's not like we're filming in your apartment all the time or anything. But what's your approach with toys? Like, what's your toy collecting kind of vibe?
It's man, it's okay. So let's get into all the things that I do collect real quick. VHS, lunch boxes. Remember the old like TV trays? They were like aluminum and they had little fold out legs. Video games, toys, just from all different like plushies. I'm literally looking at a Donkey Kong and a Pac-Man plushie from back in the early 80s right now. Obviously games from way back when to current gen, toys, any current stuff I do, really pop figures on that one. I have so much crap that I just don't have the room. And that's the thing. I don't have the room. And I've got almost every available piece of wall that I can put a shelf on. There's a shelf on it, and I have some room, but I got to move some things around. And see, like Melbourne said, I have no room anywhere. A lot of my stuff, unfortunately,
that was true 6 years ago.
I know,
like 6 years ago.
You're not wrong, but I'm trying to make stuff work. A lot of stuff is actually in like totes. A lot of stuff is at Melbourne's house. I have a ton of stuff at his house, and he was going through it the other day, and I'm like, dude, did you get out of my shit? And he's like, no, it's here. I'm going to go through it, which, all right, fair enough. But yeah, I think we all run into that problem, right, Daniel? Just no room, man. So unfortunately, the pop figures, man, those take up so much space because the boxes and whatnot, and I keep everything in the box. Kingsley, you shut your face. I don't want to hear it out of you. I know these people personally that I'm talking shit to, by the way. I'm not just an ass. I mean, I am, but not just. So one day I will figure something out to where I can actually behind me. What I want to do is rearrange this entire area that I'm in right now and put more shelves behind me, and maybe have the green screen to where it can like roll up if I need it to. And then I can put more shelves back there, and then I can actually use that as a backdrop for when I'm filming regular YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I've got a plan. I just got to execute it.
There's actually, because you know me, I'm always looking at equipment. I'm always doing comparison stuff. That's one of the things I'm good at. There's a knockoff of the Elgato that they built to hang from a ceiling, but it's also wider. So it's like about 7, 8 foot wide. And it goes in and out of stock because it tends to sell out real quick. But that one would be the jam. So if you don't mind drilling into the ceiling with some studs or something.
I got you. Talking about the green screen, right?
Yeah, just it would be perfect. And and I think we've talked about this before, where we'd have to figure out a way to put some kind of like a spring mount behind the couch so you can hook it. So there's no chance of going that whole thing.
Right.
But I got a line on that. Because I like 6 years ago I looked into getting one made because no one made them on the old school screen projectors and make a green one. They didn't just make them stock. You'd have to order it custom, and that's like a $600-700 a piece. And I said, no. I had the money, and I still was like, I'm not spending that much for a green screen. And I'm glad that I didn't, but stuff's there now. The setups are interesting. Like, because you've been where I'm at right now, and this looks way bigger than it in fact is. Like, I am scrunched up against the desk. I got this whole thing covered. Like, we've all been there.
Right.
And totes, I got stacked totes over here. I got a storage unit full of totes. And then when new stuff comes, I got boxes underneath this table right now. I'm supposed to unbox later. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, trust me, I know. And then anytime I get something for the convention, like right now, I have boxes of consoles laying around that I'm taking out to California, so that con can have its own consoles. You know what I mean? So I don't have to try to take stuff back and forth every year. So, but my green screen is is a sheet, dude. It's like, I think it was actually, I say it's a sheet, but imagine a sheet type thing, and it's got like the bar on top where you could, put it on a stand, kind of
Hmm.
a
Yeah,
photographer's
I got one of
suite
those.
is what it is. It's
Yeah,
just
it's a
tacked
muslin.
up to the
It's
wall.
a muslin.
Right.
I've got like three of
Sorry,
them.
you were
I've
saying.
got one of the Elgato. No, you're good, man. We're just gonna. It's fine. But I got the Elgato one that goes from the bottom. I've got like a pop out one. I've bought every kind of green screen a man can buy. Um, and setups are just a whole thing. And I think that with conventions, it's the same thing. Like you don't set up the same way you did 10 years ago. You've acquired stuff. You have to hire less stuff, less people. In some cases, you've kind of got that down to a science. And I've, you know, in personal conversations, I've likened it to a band being on the road. You know where all your equipment is. You got
Right.
to roll it in there, get everything set up, and then you're sitting around waiting until the actual show happens. Um, what is what's the worst part about running a show like that? What's the worst part?
The worst part is that I am not able to be at my booth with like Billy and anyone else who might show up from the show, like Dodongo or Melba or anybody like that. Because, when I go to a convention, if I'm at a convention as a guest, the way I see it is I work for them that weekend. So, they're bringing me in so fans can have access. So I'm definitely at a table all weekend long. Plus, we sell shirts and DVDs and stuff like that, and people won't buy if you're not there. Um,
Right.
but this is why I'm being brought in. They spend money on me. They spend money on my travel, be it flight or gas or whatever the case may be. They pay for the hotel for me for the weekend, same as I do for all my guests at Retropalooza and whatnot. Yeah, I expect them to be available, and I make myself available, and that's why I'm there. So if they I've had where, hey, for an hour, go play Tekken. Okay, fine, I'll go play Tekken. That's what you want me to do. Hey, come to this after thing. Okay, fine, I'll go to this after thing if that's what you want me to do. Hey, do one panel. Fine, one panel. Do 7 panels. Fine, 7 panels if that's what you want me to do. So that's probably the worst of it for me, is I'm not necessarily always available if somebody did want to meet me. Not that I'm just not available, but it's pretty hard to get me tracked down. And honestly, I don't get to look, and that kind of
Right.
sucks because I do have a very good vendor room with very good prices and very good selection, games or toys. So my son will come just to every show, and that's really like that 20-30 minutes that I'm walking around with him, basically buying for him, is the only chance that I get to look. So it's unfortunate, but
Well, speaking of tables, because I'm going to say it now before I forget, because I keep forgetting to tell you, I think I want to get a table at Houston because we were getting crowded last time, and I'll probably do the same thing this year. Keep it in the same area because I got some stuff, but I also want to, have there to be the space. But also, if you give me a list of what you're looking for, I'll do the walk. I can use the steps. You know it. It's not a thing. It's not a problem. You know.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I don't really have something. It's funny enough, I was watching Retro Rick's Retropalooza recap, and I saw him over at Chief's booth, and I saw
Mhm.
this. He just texted me back on this today. I texted him the other night, but it was a Ernest doll, Ernest P. Worrell, like Ernest Goes to
Nice. I
Camp.
remember those.
Yeah, and didn't even know it was there. So I texted Chief, and I'm like, "Yo, you still got the doll?" And he's like, "No, I sold him." So that's the thing, is like I don't get a chance to look. And Chief was there early on Friday. He set
Hmm.
up early. I definitely could have gone over there if I had the time, but I didn't, and it sucks. So
Mm-mm.
Wayne asked, "Do I own any other shirts besides the blue one?" Well, I've known you how long, Wayne, and I don't. Just this one. No, I wear 3 colors. That's the floating head guy. I'm a floating head. Oh, that's what
Oh,
Wayne is.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Shout out to
what's up,
floating
Will?
heads everywhere. It's good to see you too, Will. So we talked about the show and your basic approach to collecting. Obviously, storage is a whole thing. So I feel like when space becomes a premium, and you do have such a large amount of stuff to begin with, a lot of people talk Holy Grail stuff all the time, and I know I know of one. I'm not going to bring it up because I'm not trolling you here,
Okay.
but
Here we go.
I'm trying not. I'm trying not to.
No, it's okay.
But
Bring it up.
well, outside of the Terradrome, what other holy grails do you have in toys? We all know about the Terradrome. That's well-worn
Yeah.
territory at this point.
Yeah, Terradrome. I'm not even mad that Melbourne got that. I'm mad I wasn't invited to the show. That's what really kind of chaps my ass more than anything else is they didn't even tell me they were going. If that was a homie who hooked them up with that, fine. It is what it is. Um, I will get mine down the road. I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? There's always tomorrow,
Sure.
so to speak. Holy grails. When it comes to video games, sorry, toys. That's where my head is.
Oh, anything. I mean,
I'd have to think about that for a minute because I have
Okay.
GI Joe wise. I have all the characters I had when I was a kid plus some. It would be vehicles and or play sets / bases like the Terradrome. Yeah, that's definitely high on my list. There was and I'm drawing a blank on it right now, but it kind of looked like the Sandcrawler from Star Wars, and it was like a tan, and it folded out.
Oh, yeah. I forget the official name, but basically you hold it. It's like a big bucket. It goes
right. I had that when I was a kid. I was never into Transformers. If I'm looking for Transformers, honestly, it's for my son. My son likes the G1 Transformers, so I'm buying. Transformers is for him. Yeah, it would probably just be those two things. Yeah.
Okay, so you'd want that desert transport. I think it's mobile command center. I think is what it was called.
I think that's right. Actually, yes.
And I love GI Joe stuff. Back in the day, I could have told you the names of everything. Now at almost 45, not so much.
Sure.
And I was like, I won't collect GI Joe 3 3/4 yet. I have some. Because people they do that thing, stuff people sent us, things like that, which I'm not upset about, but you have to really, at some point, you have to start maintaining some degree of focus. And we got confirmation from two people, Mobile Command Center,
right?
Azinga. Not the easiest thing to find complete, and if you do find it, you're going to have to break some you figure out how to fix it, and that can always be a thing.
Right.
Are you the kind of guy that will? Are you a toy fixer, I guess, or do you look for the stuff that is close to perfect as possible? Like where's your head at?
I'm not a fixer per se. What's up, Brett? When it comes to like replacing O-rings and GI Joes, that's easy. That's within my skill set. The He-Man figures, the Motu figures, those are a little bit harder. You got to like boil because the rubbers in those kind of look like a barbell, and you got to kind of have to boil it to soften it up to get it into the socket, I guess, if you will. That's a little bit more difficult. No, I'm not a fixer per se, but I'm not against buying something that's not complete and making it complete down the road. Same as video games. You find a cartridge and later on you find the box and manual. You know what I mean? Toys are no different. So
sure.
when it comes to vehicles and stuff like that, I'd rather get them complete because it can be harder to find, a missile for like the Havoc or something like that, or you're going to be paying, out the ass for it. So, but
it brings me to something else. Vintage is one thing, and there's a nostalgia, but there's certainly modern stuff out there, like you collect pops. So, like He-Man Master Universe, like what about the Origin stuff? There's no rubber bands in this. Because a lot of people specifically go after that line because the maintenance would be nil, and they're a very good approximation. Is there a reason you haven't gone there with that line? Being that you are such a fan?
There's just because the old stuff is, what I grew up with. Tim actually is into the new line right now. He's got quite a few. I don't know. There's nothing new really that I collect except for, pop figures. Because they've re-released Ghostbusters and Care Bears and trying to do GI Joe and I mean some Transformers stuff, and they're re-releasing all this stuff. I would rather just have the original stuff. Personally, the turtles look almost exactly like they did back in the day, but I would rather just have the. Also, you know what it is? A He-Man figure back in 1985 was like $3. Now it's $20, $20.99, I think, for one figure. So
no, that's not true. It is basic. They're $15 retail. If they're a deluxe, it's $20. So,
you're right.
Not trying to shoot you down, but I do want to get you. I want to kind of, let's go 1982 when the line came out, right?
Oh, here we go with inflation.
Yep. I just want to say.
Look, so like $3 is $3. It doesn't matter.
Just trust me. I know my audience. I know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm talking to right now. I get it.
I understand.
$2, no nuts.
I don't believe in inflation to this degree. Obviously, I believe in inflation to where things obviously go up and the price goes up. But you can't. I really hate the mindset that, oh well, if you were to buy that now, but I didn't buy that now. I bought it then, so that don't really matter to me. And that's what I mean by I don't believe in inflation to that degree, because it was still $3 no matter what. That's all.
Right, but there's a reason that I was leading you to this, for the simple fact
all right,
that
go for it.
I want to be fair to my friend. And we've been friends a long time. I'm not going to be unfair to you, bro.
Of course not.
So with that in mind, okay, check this out.
This ought to be
you may not be able to see it. So $3.82 would be $8.67 now. So it's still almost double the price.
Now, right.
Right, exactly. So even with inflation, it's not exact. So I understand where you're coming from, and I'm very much in the same boat. For me, with the Origins line in particular, and some of the others, it's like, well, for me to get it complete now would cost me more than the Origin stuff is going to cost me, and plus this stuff will last longer. So if you don't have it, Origins line's probably your lowest cost way to go if you get into it. I started collecting them at Retropalooza Houston, and I don't even want to tell you how much money, but I have them all up to this point. I'm completist with that line so far. It still cost a lot of money, and it's like, but I also don't have the patience for like doing the bands and all that crap either. Right. So it's like.
Well, the big reason I don't collect a lot of new school stuff is because it is so expensive. I mean, hell, take pop figures. They're 10 to the average is like 10 to 13. And some of your like diamond collection will be like 15 or something like that. I do want to say you are right. The regular He-Man figure is like $15.99, and then the deluxe is $20.99. You are right about that. So I was just at Target last night because I know Tim collects them. So if I see something I think he might need, and I'll ask him if he needs it. But it's so expensive. This is why I don't collect NECA. This is why, I never got into McFarlane. Like, it's a lot of freaking money. It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. So, unless you collect his early stuff. The early stuff's cheap.
Right.
But it's like anything else.
Oh, I'm trying to think. I think the Turtles figures right now, I think they're the same, like $13-15 or something like that. And, I'm not trying to just like stay in the 80s with 80s pricing and whatnot, but that's a huge difference, $3-4
versus you're
$15-20 now.
It is a very hard thing. So like just one of my last videos was talking about the Final Faction line at Dollar General, which is 3 3/4 military figures for $1. And you can get the whole line and vehicles, villains, the whole bit for around $19 plus tax. Okay. The entire thing. So, which is a bunch of figures and stuff. And they're fun. They're great. And the thing is, if you're a destructive, toy player with her, doesn't matter. It's $1. You go back, get another one. And you can troop build and do the whole thing. So it is proof positive that if you can get a decent figure for $1, you cannot make me believe that the inflated cost is fully justified. I'm very much with you on that. But I'm such a mark for the stuff that you have to have that place where, and it's true, like you guys, some of the rarer game stuff you guys have done over the years, like the amount of money some of this stuff ends up costing, because it goes back to the early days where you were always a $2, $1 guy, and there's a reason that has done you well over the years, because you haven't had to spend too much. But once in a while, you come across something that's like, it's way more than I want to spend, but when am I going to see this again?
Sometimes you have to, and I've done it before too. But when we're getting into, I want to touch on like the new stuff and the price of new stuff. I would rather take that money and put it towards something vintage that I want. Like for example, a figure that's eluded me so far, and not that I've not seen it, it's just I've not seen it at the price I want and the condition that I want, is Storm Shadow. I don't have a Storm Shadow. Usually he's yellowed, missing weapons, which I'm okay with that. He didn't have to be complete. Storm Shadow is on the higher end when it comes to G.I. Joe stuff.
Yes.
Versus He-Man stuff right now, where a complete He-Man, I mean, you're talking like $75. It's pretty crazy. That's open. That's not even carded. It's pretty crazy. But if I'm going to go spend $15, $16, $22 every time I want a He-Man figure or something, I'd rather just put that in a freaking mason jar, let it add up, and then go, okay, now I can go buy this figure.
Yep. So for yourself and for folks that have never heard of these before, these are what the Final Faction figures look like. 3 3/4 inch. You've got your...
Interesting.
Yeah. So you get a nice card back on them. They've got accessories. And then for an additional, $1, you can buy accessory packs for like different weapons and stuff like that. Plus they have a vehicle which holds 3 figures, I think, $2. It is something that even if you're even mildly interested in that sort of a thing, it's one of these things where the risk is nil. But it is something where we all have our priorities. And Storm Shadow would be a big get. For a lot of people, it's a Snake Eyes or whatever. Like I have a Snake Eyes, but it's not like it's one of the I think it's one of the newer reissues and stuff like that, which is fine. But it's not the same thing. Like there's not the same thing. When we talk about like completing a figure, one of the things that come up, especially for your vintage stuff, is reproduction, 3D printed parts or newly casted parts. I have zero issue with it as long as they're not trying to pass it off as a vintage piece, and I think it serves a great service. But everyone's going to have a different thing. If worst comes to worst, if you're like, I've got this choice of this thing for $5, it's new, but it's remade, or I got to pay $50 for this little piece of plastic, what goes through your mind?
I will wait till I find that $50 piece of plastic for $2 somewhere. I'm okay with like repro weapons and stuff like that. Again, as long as the seller is being 100% forthcoming and letting hey, this is a repro, a 3D print, whatever the case may be. And then whoever buys that, once they get ready to sell, as long as they're not trying to pass it off as the real McCoy, so to speak, then yeah, I'm fine there. Unfortunately, with a weapon and stuff like that, I don't think you can really date those. So it's very easy for people to get got. Like I know Star Wars, me and Melvin have had this conversation, but Star Wars weapons have been like reproduced recently to where you just don't know if you're not trained to look for it. But for me personally, I'd rather have everything 100% authentic, and I'll just wait.
So whenever possible, you will always go for original.
Always.
But if someone just hands you a repro, you're not going to be like, you're not going to say it's a horrible thing.
No, I'm not going to turn it down for sure.
There's some stuff that's near impossible to find depending upon the line you're going for.
Sure.
But not to get morbid, but the fact is, we only have so many years left on this earth. I don't want the last thing I say on my deathbed to be like, Green Arrow's bowstring. Like, I don't want to say that, So for me, it's like, it's almost death insurance, I guess. And if I come across it, great. It's like Melvor saying he views them as placeholders, and I'm definitely there.
It's a good way to look at them.
It's something that it's going to vary for everybody. But I wanted to make, because someone asked directly how you felt about repro, so I wanted to get that out of you because I had a feeling you were on that same level where, of course, you would prefer the original piece.
Yeah.
Nothing against it as long as it's on the up and up. It's a good thing.
Right.
Repro games is a different story, I feel, in some ways.
I have the same mentality on that. If you're selling a repro, I think it should see now there you can at least print it on the label. This is a reproduction or something. Even if it's tiny, at least it's still on there. You can change the cartridge color. Back in the day, everything was gray, save for like the 2 Legend of Zelda games. And if we're talking officially licensed stuff, I know Comerica had a lot of gold cartridge stuff with Dizzy and with the micro machines and stuff like that. And Tengen obviously were black, but those cartridges did look different. But if we're talking licensed NES stuff, change the cartridge, change it to a see-through blue or pink or orange or whatever. That way, when someone sees it, they raise that eyebrow, even if they're not, a professional and they don't know what they're looking at. I'm okay with reproduction cartridges. That's the only way you're going to be able to get some of these games. I have a couple of repros in my collection. I have a NWC reproduction, 2 of them actually. And that's the only way I'm going to get to play a game like that. So I'm okay with it, but they're clearly obvious. And I'm trying to see if I have that one here, and I'd show you if I did. I don't think it's around here, but anyways.
It's probably the one that's been featured most prominently, where it just says official reproduction or it's reproduction cartridge, like right on the label.
Yeah, I mean, it's a clear blue, like a see-through blue. And it's made by, I think, Retro USB.
That sounds about right, because they did a lot of those for a while. Like Little Samson is, I think, one of the best examples of a game that you should not feel bad buying a repro. It's super rare. Make sure it has a different color cart, different label, something to differentiate it, because that's a legitimately fun game to play.
I agree.
And I think that where there's that weird crossover is that there are some folks, whether it's toys, games, movies, whatever, and it's something where people tend to have a completionist idea of, I need everything of this thing, even if I never am going to play it, play with it, watch it, whatever. And I know that you sold a sizable portion of, like, you sold almost your whole N64 collection off, right?
All of it.
Yeah. And that was specifically to help finance the film.
Yeah, I did want to say that. Everything I sold was to, help fund the movie, because as much money as we did get from Kickstarter, we still needed more, and we're not done paying for it. We've got to ship these things out once we actually make the physical copies of them. So,
right.
But yeah, anything I sold, I went from, 600 NES games to 100. I kept like these 100 games I have to keep because I like playing them, even though I have EverDrives and I can play them anytime I want. But we're talking like the Castlevanias and Turtles and, RBI Baseball and the Marios. And I don't think the highest dollar thing I kept was Snow Brothers. Maybe.
Right. And that one's gets up there, right? But even
honestly don't know. I haven't looked at prices on anything. And if I have it, I usually don't look at prices. So
is it now, I know people have asked you this question a billion times. But when it comes to the N64 collection, how, because now that this, and let's be honest, first film, because it's been said in many places that filmmaking is something you guys want to continue to do. But as this film is winding down to a certain degree, the show will ramp up to a certain degree. You'll be out in the world trying to find games. How much interest is there in rebuilding that particular collection?
Right now, none. I'm focusing on arcades. Not that it won't happen, because it will at some point, but you shift focus, and my focus is video games wise is on arcades right now, and honestly, I would much rather be finding toys than video games. So Snow Bros is 289 loose. Yikes!
Yeah,
What's up, Race?
yeah, yeah. I remember when Limited Run did the reissue for Metal Storm. I got my butt puckered a little bit because I was like, well, there goes whatever value I have in that game. But granted, I got a really good deal on it 10 years ago. It's not, I don't buy for the value. It's a
Sure.
nice bragging piece. It's a nice, good conversation thing. But was like, all right, well, whatever. So the bubble's about to burst on this particular game. No, it went up because the people that really wanted an original copy, they're like, well, I have to. And I don't know how consistent that really is going to be in the future. But as we've had discussions personally and certainly videos, things like that, I don't think that vintage prices on anything are going to go down until our generation's gone. And the only reason I say that, the folks that want them are going to hang on to them for the most part, which means there's less in the wild. And the only time you're going to start to see values come down even a little bit is if like all the major collectors get hit by a bus at the same time or something. That's about the closest thing you're going to see because rarity is always a thing.
People have been talking about, the bubble bursting on retro games for a while, for fucking 10 years now, and it's not happened. And the other thing is, there's, like you said, there's always someone who's going to want the stuff, even no matter their age. And no matter their age, these people are always going to want their retro. So people who maybe grew up on PS3, now maybe they're getting to the age where it's like, oh, I remember this game and that game, let me go try to find it again. So it's going to shift. It's just going to shift, and it's already starting to, and I've seen it. It's going to shift more from cartridge to disc-based stuff. Is really. I think retro collecting dies when physical media dies. Is what I think. When physical media is 100% gone, then that generation won't be out looking for that stuff anymore.
Yeah, because at some point, I think that it's going to shift into, like, emulation will be the only way to do this stuff at some point, unfortunately. And I'm grateful to say that I don't think I'll live to see that happen. At least not in the sense of I think there will always be an analog or a take whoever making some kind of console I can physically put the stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
The cartridges have a shelf life. I think most of your cartridges that are well kept are probably going to last for quite a while. But maybe in our lifetime, you're going to start to see massive collections starting to lose their cohesion. Like they're going to start to break down a little bit. But I don't know
people talk
for sure.
About disc rot and all that stuff, and while I know it's a thing, but what does it take to get to that point? And I don't think that's what anybody knows, because if you take care of your shit's gonna last. So if you keep disc stuff, even CDs, pull out your old disc book, and if they've gotten stuck to that plastic and they rip off that top layer, then they're worthless. They won't play anymore. But if you keep your disc games inside the cases that they came in, which you should do anyways, I think they can last a little bit longer than what people think, honestly. So
and Pete, I'm glad you bring that up, because I'm really glad you bring that up, because I can't tell you how many times I've been in a flea market or a like an antique shop, and typically my blood pressure just goes way down when I see something in a book, because I'm like, oh,
right,
like, because it's either going to be a treasure trove or it's going to be a graveyard, because people take those things, they put them in their damn cars, they're in the heat and all this stuff. I actually there was one, I went to an antique store, it held about 30 games, had GameCube, PS3, PS2, PS1, some really good games. At least half of them had like this warp on them because they'd been in the sun or whatever for so long.
Right.
And at that point I was like, well, hey, you can't. These are not going to work. You're just going to have to take these off the shelf because you're never going to get rid of these. And then they were like $5, and I said, nah, I don't even want to take the risk. I do not want to assume that risk. And many people will be, oh, I'll take the risk for $5. And it's like, that's space and you got to test it. And...
Yeah, but for $5, you're probably going to get $5 worth out of it at least. So there's that. But, I understand because, I had hundreds and hundreds of CDs and they all wound up in a book. I get it, but I kept the cases too, so it's not like I was doing it to try to space save. It was just easier,
right?
We come from an era where we drive around with a book of CDs in our lap while we're driving, trying to change the disc out. So storage is key. Storage is key. Storage is absolutely key. So
absolutely.
This is the thing, man. Like, it all depends on how you take care of your stuff. You take care of your stuff's going to take care of you. Bottom line.
Exactly. Yep. My dad said that. You took the words right out of my mouth. So true. Chat brought it up. We didn't bring it up, but there's a film. That's a thing. We can shift gears ever so slightly for a moment here.
Let's go, whatever.
Let's do it. So there's this movie called Adventures in Game Chasing that was just premiered on last Thursday, less than a week ago.
Go on.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe you might have seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's not bad for a couple of people who didn't know what the hell they were doing. Right. No, I'm going to be honest. I'm glad it's done. It'll be available for digital download very soon. If you ordered a physical copy, you get the digital copy for free, so you'll at least get to see it before the physical goes out. When is that going to happen? I quote Billy when I say, as soon as I figure out how to do it. That was out of Billy's mouth, so just be patient with that. What's up, Zombie? How's it going? Glad you're here.
It's good to see you, Zombie.
I'm seeing everyone jump in and say hi and whatnot, and I'm really sorry. It's not my stream because I would normally just be like, hey, what's up? What's up, Leon? How are the effects? Were they awesome? Huh? You know what? They were all right. No, they were actually great. Leon actually he did effects for the movie. But no, he did a fantastic job. And so the physical copies, it's going to be a couple months. We're going to have a making of documentary that's going to be in there. We're going to do a commentary track, of course, deleted scenes and outtakes and all that kind of stuff. So be patient with that. But again, once Billy does figure out how to do the digital download thing, everyone who either ordered that or ordered a physical copy will be able to watch the movie. I want to watch it again. That was the first time I saw it in its entirety, and I even told Billy, just burn me a copy. But I guess it's out. It's official. I can call myself indie movie maker now, which is kind of neat. Not gonna lie, it is. And I got asked this a lot, like, why'd you sell your stuff and why'd you sell games and this and that? Because this is something I really wanted to do. All those games I can find again. All those games are out there. I can find them again. This might be my only chance to ever make a movie. Who knows? I hope it's not. But that's how I looked at it, and that was my mindset, and I don't regret getting rid of anything. Thank you, Zombie. I wish everybody could have been at the premiere. The premiere was good. I know there's quite a few people who couldn't come because they were sick for one reason or another. Tim, Dodongo, Melvor, just to name a few. Brett Weiss was in here. I know he couldn't come. But hey, what's up, Not Another Retro Channel? You were there. Thank you. I've gotten feedback on the movie from people that I trust to tell me the truth. And honestly, people are saying, what I hope they would say. One of the big things is, all right, I didn't expect you guys to deliver this kind of product. It's way, way better than I was thinking it was going to be. Okay, awesome. That's a compliment to me. I've always said if the worst thing people say is the acting sucks, then I'm okay with that because we're not actors. And even on that front, there's been compliments on the acting. So I had a guy call me today and I was like, what'd you think? And he goes, all right, first of all, I'm jealous because you guys did something I've been wanting to do forever. And then he started going into more technical things like effects and VFX and stuff like that. And was like, I can't believe like how professional this shit is. And I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of people expected, a couple of morons with a camcorder running around, and I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised when it's not, is what I think.
I would agree with that. And I remember I was getting really agitated for like 20 minutes prior to the movie actually starting.
Why's that?
Because I was nervous. It was like
anxiousness, not agitation. Anxious.
No, it went from anxious to agitated because I'm just like, God, just start it so that if it bombs, I just want it to bomb. If it's great, I just want it to be great. I'm just ready. It's been long enough. Let's go. Yeah. And then the slideshow comes up, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
So that was supposed to have been played while people were coming in and getting
walking in. Yeah,
it was kind of a few minutes late getting started on that. And I know I see a lot of people that were there. SFX Leon was there. Not another retro channel was there. Jill the Ripper was there. I mean, you guys don't just be nice because there's one of us in it, but if you enjoyed it, say you enjoyed it.
Right.
It was. I think it was good. I think it was pretty good, honestly.
And there's one specific moment, not going to spoil anything for anybody, but it was it was like an extension of my first scene. Something happened after my first scene to my character. And when that landed, when that landed and there was a big laugh, I'm like, okay, we're fine. Yeah. We're fine. We're going to be okay. And then of course there's a little bit later, there's like earlier there's the heartfelt stuff. You could hear people kind of really focusing on that. But what's interesting about it is that jokes you think are going to kill were okay. Jokes you think it's good. Some of those killed. And then you have the hoots of recognition for like an Easter egg, things like that. But I think that what it comes down to, this is a movie, in my opinion, personally, it bears rewatching a bunch. Because not just because it's a dense movie in a good way, but also just because it's fun. And again, I know I sound like I'm self-serving. We were both in the movie. Let full disclosure, right. But it feels very akin in terms of the vibe to like a Ferris Bueller or an Uncle Buck or any of these films where it's just you've got a lot of wacky stuff happening, but there's a heart to it, and you just want to have that feeling again. So it's almost like creating a new bar for nostalgia for ourselves.
I hope that's the case, honestly. I think so. To touch on something you said, there were parts where it's like, okay, this is going to be a big laugh, and they were. And there's other parts where it's like, okay, here's another big laugh coming up, and it wasn't so much. And those other parts where it's like, y'all are laughing at that, it was weird. Right. It's a good thing. I think people need to go back and watch this movie a couple of times, honestly, to catch everything. Because there's definitely parts where people laughed over, and they laughed over another joke, and that was one of the previews that I noticed that. So you can't get a hold of the movie yet, Bjorn. I was just saying it's
right.
It'll be available
Technically speaking,
for digital soon.
Right, but there's a link in the description, which it will get you the pre-order.
You can get the pre-order right now. Yes.
Right. So if you pre-order, you can pre-order a digital copy if you want, but for a couple extra bucks, you're going to get a full physical Blu-ray. And for a couple more bucks, which is I recommend the 2-disc version, because if you're a movie person and you like behind-the-scenes stuff, that's going to be the one you want to get. If that's not something that's important to you, get the regular 1-disc. The digital copy comes with it for free. Boom, out the door, and you have something on your shelf. But if money's a problem and you don't do physical media, $15, no nuts, get you the digital copy as soon as it's ready for you. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the pre-order is going to be your best bet because you're directly supporting the film. There is always that possibility there will be other ways to get it later down the line, but our priority, I find, is certainly the folks that are pre-ordering and backing the film first. And would it be fair to say that we're pretty much not moving on anything else until that's done? We need to make sure those people are taken care of, right?
What do you mean? The people who got the physical copies and all that stuff?
Right, basically like Kickstarter folks, Indiegogo folks, make sure they're taken care of first.
Right, exactly. Now with the digital downloads, once the Kickstarter people get theirs, I personally see nothing wrong with making that available to the public, and having a proper trailer and running an ad campaign for it and all that other kind of stuff, because at least they got to see
Right.
it. Now the physical stuff,
Right.
they're obviously going to get theirs first before we ship anyone else's out. But yeah, the Kickstarter people are going to get their digital stuff. But with the codes, you just email them. So it's not like anyone's missing out unless they just don't check their email and do the download. So
yes, it is.
I think, and this is feedback that I've heard, and like Order 42 said, he wants to hear from someone who's not so connected. And I've gotten feedback from people who aren't so connected. And like I said, maybe I've known these people a long time, but they think they're going to be honest enough with me to where if something wasn't right, they would tell me that. And I think, Retro Wolf 88 did a non-spoiler review, and I don't know if you can link his channel because it was actually really good. And I think he got what we were trying to do. And one thing he said was, if you're a fan of the Game Chasers, you're going to enjoy this. There's going to be stuff in there for us, some fan service type stuff. He goes, but even if you're not, you're going to be able to watch this movie. You don't have to know who these guys are to be able to enjoy this movie. And that was something that we definitely wanted, is to appeal to a broader audience, not just, this small following that we have on YouTube. We want anyone and everyone to be able to enjoy this film. I'll be honest. I want to break even at least on this movie. And then I want people to go, you know what? And I've heard this already. Next time you guys do something, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm giving you my money. That's kind of the other thing I want is, no one likes to lose money, obviously. So break even. And then the next time we do something, those people who backed before go, look, I trust that you guys are going to deliver us something good. Here you go. Here's my whatever amount of dollars. So,
and with that in mind, this is the first time out, and the model of the film going in, I think this first time is very different from what would go on the second. You and I have talked about this, where it makes more sense. You get the script together, you have a sit down with the crew, figure out exactly what it's going to take. You'll have a budget, and then you're like, here's how much we need. How do we want to go about procuring it? Whether it be through a financing or, pre-orders, whatever the case may be. I think there's a lot more. Just by virtue of having done it, there's a certain amount of things you know in advance that are going to be different, because you have a better. Because we have been playing catch up on that budget since day one, and this is kind of the thing you're talking about. I've heard people say things like, "Oh, that's a lot of money." I'm like, "Not for a film.
Not for a film. It's not.
This is like if you really want to get an idea of how low of a budget we had, chat, look up scale. Look up actors' scale, and it goes by how big the budget is. Our budget's not even on the scale. It's like below. It's like below 230,000, which is not what the original budget was.
Yeah, cast and crew were working for minimums, like literally bare minimums,
or for free.
Or for free, right? It's a couple of people in this chat and on this stream right now that have not seen a dime off of it.
Like yourself.
Yeah. Kind of where I was going. Yeah. Like I've not seen time on this. So, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not seeing any money on it yet. So if it comes down the road, then fine. And all those people who did, Chief didn't get paid. Eric didn't get paid. I'll fucking say it. SFX Leon in here didn't get paid. Order 42 didn't get paid. Money. Yeah. Yeah. So all those people will be taken care of. We didn't forget about them. It's just a matter of, can we at least get, can we get to even at least first? So.
Exactly. And you've said it yourself, so I don't think you'll mind me saying it, that, if we do get a chance to do another film, you're going out of your way to make sure that you get to kind of correct those things. They weren't necessarily mistakes, but things you wish you could have done had the money been there. But I love what Leon says here, that, ha ha ha, a lot of money, barely the amount most movies spend on a coffee budget.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, we learned a lot, not just me, but Billy. I think one thing, try not to be so, what's the word I'm looking for here? Cheap when it comes to catering next time. Here
it is.
I'm not going to bring up I'm just going to say me and the AD, kind of went round and round on the catering thing, and I'll eat crow right now, and I'll tell him next time I see him, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So you gotta, it was fine for what it was, I guess, but definitely not be cheap on that next time. I'd like some more money next time for post-production stuff.
Yes.
That's everything Billy was doing, honestly, should have been 5 to 10 people doing, and not just him.
Right. Exactly. I think that in a perfect world, because a lot of people may not realize this, so I'm just going to put this out in Front Street. Picture wraps, everything more or less gets done by Billy at that point. Organizing reshoots, the edit, the initial stuff. And granted, Rob was helping with sound editing initially to get things where they needed to be so you could even begin to do some kind of a mix on certain things. But he's only got so much room to work because Billy's getting this thing assembled together. And then you find out, I need this shot, I need this shot, I need this shot. And then he has to stop what he's doing with the editing, go do the reshoot, put it in. Then you find something else. So this guy's constantly stop, start.
Pretty much.
And I told Billy this on Friday. I said, dude, we need to get you an editor just to do assembly cuts so you can find out what shots you need, go get those shots, come back, have them do another assembly cut, make sure you've got everything. And then if you want to do a final director's pass on it, fine. But you do not need to spend the amount of time you spent on this thing because it took so long for him. And you could see the guy the stress he was going through with everything.
Trust me, I did see it.
Yeah.
Outside of Robbie, nobody was around him more than me. So yes, trust me, I know. And this is what I'm saying. We definitely have to budget. I don't want to say budget better because it's not like we mismanaged money or anything like that. We just didn't have money in the budget to hire people to do a lot of stuff on the post-production end of things. So that was just one of those kind of sacrifice choices that we had to make. And unfortunately, I can't do those kinds of things. It's not, I don't know how to edit. I don't, none of that stuff. So a lot of it fell on Billy. Like most of it fell on Billy's shoulders. So
yeah, but
that vest. Yeah, the best.
You just over my head with that. What we talking about?
Billy's vest that he wore in the movie.
Oh,
just, round and round with some continuity and hair and makeup with that stupid, wardrobe with that stupid vest that he wore. So
yeah, it's someone asked me at the premiere because it was very cold that night. It was very cold, and I showed up. I was wearing jeans. I had a t-shirt underneath a polo shirt to go into the thing, and then after that, I just took the polo shirt off that I had on. And people were like, "Did you bring a coat? Did you bring a hoodie?" I'm like, "I don't want to hear the word hoodie. I did not want to wear a hoodie to that premiere." Because I'm so sick of wearing hoodies, man. This movie kind of turned me off of hoodies, dude. Yeah, it's a thing. But it's funny where you're playing a character or you're doing a thing and you're wearing like this one thing throughout the whole thing. Like, I don't like wearing long pants to begin with. That comes back from my time in the Marine Corps. Like, that was like, if I'm wearing long pants, I'm at work kind of a thing.
Right.
And then becoming a drummer, wearing shorts because it's more practical. And now I was wearing pants on the film, which was whatever. It was cool or whatever. But then when you go to do a reshoot mid-July and the Texas sun is bearing down on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to wear pants. Like, you guys went through that. That was rough. There is a lot of stuff to.
I wear a jacket in the entire movie because it's funny. We had to make a decision because we filmed in November. And I remember specifically telling Billy, I'm like, dude, this is not a good idea to film this in November. The weather is going to be too unpredictable. And because it's just that time of year here. And he didn't listen to me. And sure as shit, what happened? We had a couple of really, really cold days, a couple of really cold, rainy days on set. So we had to make a decision. day one of filming when we were at that restaurant, are you going to be wearing jacket, not jacket? I decided to go with the jacket, and I'm so fucking glad I did, because on those really cold days, it helped out. Chief said, no, I'm not going to wear it. And he's freezing on set on those cold days.
Right.
So,
and he let you know too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was such a big baby about it. So when we're doing these reshoots in July, like you said, because even Chief said something about it, as he came up to do some reshoot stuff, I have to wear this stupid fucking jacket, and it's 103 degrees, and it sucks. It sucks fucking hard, but it's what you got to do.
Exactly. But it all comes back to the same thing where going into potentially another film, when and should that time come, there's so many lessons that you learn from the first time doing anything.
Oh yeah.
But I think it was interesting because we had such a long period of time between principal photography and post-production that we had that much more time to absorb those lessons. And it's something where you can't pay for that kind of education. It doesn't exist.
Right.
You know, experience is free, even though it can be costly. And I'd say we got pretty damn lucky that we had a crew of people that were just in to get it done, to make sure it happened, whatever it took. From my perspective, past principal, even though there was a lot of hurdles to jump, there were people willing to do the run.
Yes.
Film in Hawaii.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Because that'll be cheap. Yeah, nah, I don't do well in the heat. But I get where you're coming from. Temperate climate. I'm in like Flint on that stuff for sure. But now it's done. You've done it. Now it's just a matter of getting it out to the people. That has to be an excitement all its own. Like, to me, it's like I'm reinvigorated by that, because now, even though people can be jerks, I think the vast majority of people are going to dig it. I'm prepared for whatever. Yeah. I do too.
We got this small group of people who just really fucking can't stand us for one reason or another. I don't know why. Maybe our faces are stupid. So, we're going to hear it. Trust me. Even with, I like the rumors that there's not going to be a movie. We just took all that money, and that's what I was spending, on arcades, because I don't bring in money from other sources, which is fucking ignorant. So now there's a movie. Let's see what they come up with next. But I think by and large, the reaction is going to be what we've gotten so far from those few people who have been able to see it at the premiere. That's what I think.
And you had mentioned earlier that, like, when it comes to the film making process, that there's very limited things that you can do. But I think it bears mentioning that you are an extremely savvy businessman.
Me?
You've done great things, and always are trying to push forward in a positive way without being sharky with the Game Chasers brand, with Retropalooza, SoCal Gaming, and also arcade game machines, sir, which have seen prominence at the conventions. But that's not why you're gathering so many arcade machines. You have a goal. Would you like to tell the people what that goal is, sir?
Sure. To touch on something you said, though, you said I'm not sharky, and I like that word. There's no reason to be. You know what I mean? Because if you act like a fucking snake, then people are going to peg you as one, and then they don't want to do business with you, and that's not a good thing. I kind of have a couple of like mottos that I try to live by whenever doing business. I hate the mentality of charge what you can because you can. I hate when people go, oh, well, people will pay that. Well, sure, they will, but what about the people that won't? Fuck them. Like, no, if you charge your customers a product they want at a price they can afford, you're going to be successful. No. Excuse me. Sorry. So there's no reason to be dirty, because like I said, people, it will get around, and people will learn how you are. Even if you're not dirty, if you're just a jerk, if you're just an asshole, if you're, whatever the case may be, like people talk. People fucking talk. What I'm doing with the arcades is I want to open up a barcade, plain and simple. So I'm at 75-ish machines, and it's going to be you pay a cover, everything's on free play, and going to have, full bar and kitchen and all that kind of stuff. Barcades are extremely popular right now and have only gotten more popular over the last 10 years or so.
Oh yeah.
So like, I'm not going to be the first one in DFW to do it, and I won't be the last. But there's 7 million people here, so there's plenty of money to go around for everybody. But that's what I want to do.
But I think your philosophy on business certainly goes into discussions we've had about how you want to run that business as well, because you're trying to give people something that is a little bit different. You want to be almost, and correct me if this is the wrong phrase, almost like the hometown barcade. Most barcades, in my experience, tend to be this kind of a, oh, we've got arcades, and yes, we've got this, flatbread, this and that, which is great. It's a good thing to appeal to a certain market. But I feel like because they're trying to be a little extra swank, maybe to make more money, probably, they're kind of, and this is any other barcade I've been to, and this is without exception in my personal experience. There's not a place you can just go and it feel like it's a neighborhood bar that happens to have a shitload of arcade games. There's not a sense of community that kind of forms around it. And it has always felt to me that that's kind of the model you're going for.
Yes, I like the way you described that. I want something comfortable. I want people to be able to go there and they feel like they're at their, local hole in the wall karaoke bar or something like that. Like those kinds of places are the best to me. I definitely want people to feel at home, feel comfortable, and feel like they were treated right, and the prices were fair. Drinks were cold, and the prices were fair. Customer service for me is huge. I've been in the service industry before, and I go to some of these barcades, not just here, but all over the country, and they might be doing this right, that right, this right, that right, but no one's doing all of it right, and that's what I want to do. And I'm not trying to sound cocky when I say that, but I think I've got a pretty good finger on the pulse for customer service. I had matter of fact, NES Complex was here in October, and he was like, I've never had a convention treat me so well. And that's what I put out there. That's the type of customer service I put out there, and that's the reputation that I want. I've worked extremely difficult to get that kind of reputation with my convention, despite what people might think of me from being a YouTuber and whatnot. All the burps and farts and potty humor and all that kind of shit. But at the end of the day, I take what I do very seriously, extremely, extremely, extremely seriously, because it's how I feed my son. So I definitely want to put out the most professional vibe I can when it comes to doing business.
And that's the way to be. Echo Base, let me know if that makes things any better. If it doesn't, let me know. You really do have to know your market. And Wraith is saying good customer service goes a long way, best to establish consumer trust. It's true.
Absolutely.
If you serve them right once, they're going to come back. And it's almost more important to serve them right the second time. Because, different restaurants and stuff, like, I could have a discussion for an entire podcast about just the inconsistency of McDonald's French fries, for example, right?
Sure.
Because sometimes they'll be soggy, sometimes they're perfect, sometimes it's whatever. You got to do your best to give them a consistent experience at a high level. And I think that too many businesses do, and this goes back to nostalgia, in my opinion. Too many businesses that are out there now are trying too hard to stay afloat or to just make the money they need to make so that when things kind of do this whole thing, that they're going to be fine. What they don't understand is that if you just treat the customer right, you will get repeat business, and that's what drives sustainability.
Exactly, and part of that is, it's funny because Rob's saying, I think you learned that at Blockbuster. I've been in a position of management with I hear it too. What is that? That's coming in through on your end, I think, Jim.
hang on.
But one thing I learned very early on is if you take care of your staff is going to take care of you. And if your staff is taking care of you, then they're taking care of the customers. So first and foremost, you got to be fair with your staff. You got to treat your staff with respect. Just because you're the boss doesn't mean you're better than them. You know what I'm saying? Just because they're a quote lower level employee doesn't mean that they're not just as important as a shift leader or manager or stuff like that. You know, so it starts there. And like you said, you got to be consistent with your customers, treat your customers right. So when they do have that one bad experience or a less than stellar, they go, you know what, maybe it's just an off day for the waitress, or maybe it's just an off day at the bar, or whatever the case may be, and they still come back to you. All that is extremely important.
Like, and there's even like bigger businesses. Like people tell me, like, well, let me rewind that. Pizza Hut's current thing is like no one out pizzas the Hut. First of all, wrong. But back in the 80s, when Pizza Hut could be a destination because they had arcade machines, it was a sit down place. It's a little bit different, and it's something that they lost along the way. Marketplace changed; they had to change with it. I get that, but at the same time, I like the idea of being able to go into a pizza place and sit down and have a meal.
Sure.
And there's so much focus placed, and not just the pizza, but in restaurants in general, different kinds of places that everyone wants everyone brought to them. And I'm certainly guilty of that. But when I do want to go out, I want to have a good experience. And it's becoming more and more rare to have that. So when you have a place like a barcade that is going to do the arcade experience, you're going to have the food thing going on there. We've talked doing like theme nights, like just really kind of bust out this. Let's make this a special time when you come here, whether it's once a week, once a month, or once a year, or something there. Do you find that aside from your business experience, that your personal experience with having gone to places where it was very special, do you think that fuels part of why you want to do this in the way you do?
I think, okay, so first of all, it's becoming distracting now. I didn't hear it when we started doing this podcast, so that's weird that it's happening now. But I'm going to talk.
I don't hear it.
Weird. You don't hear it at all? I only hear it when I'm talking, like Echo Base said. I don't think it's on my end. It can't be on my end, right?
It could be.
I mean, I guess it could be.
Because I've completely switched audio devices for myself, and I've went muted when you were talking to see if it was still going. So it is something, and I'm sorry to just to derail the show, but I understand how that can be annoying for folks.
Of course, it's annoying. But for me, it's how I want to be treated. It's not necessarily things in the past, like you said, the Pizza Hut experience and all that, which was great. Don't get me wrong. It's on my end. I don't have a fan on. I don't. I mean, just the laptop fan comes on, but again, we've been in this an hour and it hadn't.
Yeah.
Replug the headset. How's that? Nope, still there.
And the thing is, you're using the mic off of the computer itself, so that shouldn't be.
No, I'm using a. I'm not.
Is it a USB mic?
Yes, it is.
Are you on a laptop?
I am.
Is the laptop fully charged?
It is.
And it's plugged in right now?
Yes, it is.
Try unplugging the side of the laptop. See if it's a feedback loop from electricity.
Unplug. Okay.
Just the power, because it's already charged, so we're good.
Hello.
All right.
No, it's still going.
Okay. Plug it back in so we don't burn a battery on you. But
I apologize, y'all.
No, it happens.
Strange.
And we certainly apologize for that. We'll do what we can. Got to power through. As much as I love doing live troubleshooting.
Yeah, I'm using a Yeti.
Okay.
It wasn't doing this before. How about now?
Now I hear your fan.
Check.
But I don't hear it buzzing, but I hear a fan.
Hello? Check.
Okay. I can hear you now. You're good.
Strange. Anyways, saying it's how I want to be treated when I go in somewhere. I go into a restaurant. I'm not difficult, man. Keep my drink full and I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I know in retail things have gotten to a point where there's a lot of laziness, and I think it's not necessarily laziness, maybe. they're not being trained properly. If I go up to an employee and I ask where something is, because I've looked and looked and looked and looked. So if I'm going to an employee, I go, hey, where is hair rollers, for instance, and they just point and say over there. No, bitch, walk me over there and show me, because I can't fucking find it.
Right.
Put my phone's over here. It's not even next to it.
It was a good idea, though.
No, yeah, but what's weird is that it's just now doing it. It wasn't doing this the entire time.
I know the frustration, for sure. If we can figure it out, great. It is a whole thing.
It's all your fault, Echo Base.
There you go. I mean, Echo Base, now background buzzing noise base network. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I'm just kidding.
I'm just making sure I have everything off over here. I don't have any consoles on or anything.
Right. Yeah, and I doubt it's something like that. It is very odd. But I remember like going back to like high school. I used to work in a grocery store, and for a while I did stock. Well, I did stock right before Marine Corps. So like I did bagging and cashiering before I reached adult age, and then when I went back to the same store right before I joined the Marines, I did stock, and I was doing it during the day. And I would consistently, if I saw someone like looking around, I would walk. I would ask them if they're okay, or if they asked me where something was, I would walk them to find it, because not only did I feel like that was something you should generally be doing, but I wanted to help people out. If they have a good experience while they're shopping, they're less likely to like tee off on a cashier or a bagger, or maybe that's just the one little thing is going to make their day that much better. So, because grocery shopping can be hell. If you don't want to do it, if you have to do it, why make it a painful experience for somebody when you can take 5 minutes out of your day to make them smile? Like, it's not difficult. And I cannot understand why some people consistently do not seem to care about the people that are paying their bills by patronizing their place of business. It's very difficult for me to metabolize.
I agree with you. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to figure this out. Now it's bothering me.
I get it. I definitely get it.
I don't know. I hadn't changed anything. You know what? Screw it. We're going to power through it. Let's go.
All right. So, obviously there's a certain degree of nostalgia inherent with having an arcade with stuff in it. You have a customer service mindset. Now, granted, time frames have shifted, so I'm not going to ask you, when's it opening? Because we don't know. But it is something that is on the short list, I am sure.
So pre-COVID, I actually had a lot of investors lined up. I had enough investors lined up to where financially it would have been a go, should have been a go. And then the entire fucking country locked down for a year or whatever it was. And then once things started semi getting back to some sort of normalcy, I started making calls and whatnot. And, I heard a lot of the same, oh, I had it then, I don't now kind of shit. I think I'm just going to go the route of just getting the money together myself, or at least most of it. And that way, one, I don't got to pay anybody back. Bank loans and stuff like that. What's the difference in that and an investor? They're still going to want money back, and they're going to want, a VIG on all that and everything. So I would rather come up with it myself. So if it takes a year, fine. If it takes 18 months, fine. And worst case scenario, it never happens at all. Well, I've got these machines I can recoup all my money back on. Because just like, toys or video games or whatever, I've not paid what these machines are actually worth. So if I have to turn around and resell them for whatever reason, I hope I don't, then, I'm good.
And I've seen it firsthand. There were some machines that were right in front of your face that it was something where it wasn't necessarily a bad deal, but you had to go with what was best for you. And you turned down some pretty top shelf machines that weren't a horrible price, but it was something where it's like, no, this is not what I'm looking to pay. And you were able to say no. You're able to walk away, which is the art of the deal.
You got to be able to walk away. So I unplugged my headset and I'm still hearing it. Or am I not?
Okay.
I don't know if I'm hearing it. Yeah, I am.
Okay. I got you.
So weird. But
it is.
Yeah, and look, there's machines that I've been looking for and I've seen them, but I'm like, don't want to pay that much for that. So yeah, again, I'll find it somewhere down
Well,
the road.
I mean,
I'll find what I'm looking for.
you are a professional game chaser, Jay. I mean, I think we all know you're gonna find what you're looking for. That's just it's in your blood, bro. It's a whole thing for you.
I mean, look, it's not that I'm cheap. It's just I don't have unlimited funds. That's what it
right.
boils down to. And honestly, even if I was rich, the rich don't stay rich by spending all their
Spending
money.
their money. Yep.
So,
And that's people ask, how do you stay rich? They don't spend nothing. Like, how many times have you heard the same thing? Oh, he had all this money. He was a cheapskate. Well, there you go. That's how it works. Exactly. So, what I think we can do here, take a brief detour. Okay. I've got a few things to unbox, show some real life nostalgia maybe. And then when we come back from that, we'll do a Q&A and call it. But I would love to share this with you. So I've got two boxes here. I got one from our good friend, the Epic Badger, Jesse Hughes, which I have no idea what it is. And I have a box from someone whose name I don't recognize, that I have no idea what it is.
Live with it?
So we'll start with the small one because, good things come in small packages and also, suspense and all that shit.
Suspense.
So, that's right. That's right. And normally I'll do these for like Patreon or something. I don't typically do them on a live stream unless the live stream is specific to unboxing. But this is kind of a special night. And some of this stuff's been sitting here, so I figure do it right here. It's a whole thing.
What's in the box?
Right. Someone had to say it, right?
Of course.
Now, Jesse is always good for like triple taping his shit. So cutting it is always an interesting scenario, if you will. But we'll see. Plus, I get these at a P.O. box, and they put like my box number on it and this big label. So you got to cut that. This is fun. This is the fun part, right? All right. So we'll get this open. Ooh. Okay. All right. Cool. So what this is, make sure there's nothing else in here. Nope. So this is a room tour. Here it is. There's a whole room. But this is the bike portion of the Baroness set that came out for G.I. Joe Classifieds last year. So this is just the bike and a couple other cool things, like you got a little snake up here and then you got an alternate head with the helmet. And I have the whole set already, but the bikes are very good custom fodder, so you can like, paint it up, do the thing. This is good for your 6-inch figures like Marvel Legends, stuff like that. This is very, very nice. Thank you, Jesse. This is really cool. And since I have a second one, I am certainly going to see what I could do to make this even cooler. This is a great thing. I love this snake, so I might take the other one and like kind of make something out of them, like some kind of like a hood ornament or something. And of course, they come with these weird Nerf-style laser guns that have no business in a G.I. Joe line. That's a whole other discussion. I think it's bullshit, frankly. But that's why when you've got like new lines like Action Force coming out where they actually use real military weapons, I'm more interested in that. But I will always take some vehicles because in the 6-inch scale, vehicles are very hard to come by. So Jesse, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. That's going right in with the other classified stuff that I have. Now, this is duct tape shut. Always a good sign.
That means they don't want whatever's on the inside to get out.
That's true. So if this is a live animal, I'll be very upset. Just saying. But it is an eBay box, and I don't recognize the name. So this is probably a drop-shipped item, so I don't have any direct clue as to what it might be. All right, here we go. All right, moment of truth, kids. some packing material, which are always nice. Ooh, brown paper is my favorite. How'd you know? How'd you know? How'd you know? Oh my God, is this what I think it is?
Mogwai.
Oh. Yeah, this is what I think it is. Jay, I am about to feast my eyes on something that I have not seen in the flesh in 30 years.
Man, I had a joke just then.
That's good. Not my dick. My dick, I've seen that recently. I know where you're going with it. All right, so this is a Freedom Force helicopter from 1985 or 86. It's battery operated, has a light underneath here, and the rotors actually go. It's got a contraption that comes with it inside of this here, which looks like there might be a note in here, so I'm going to open that up. But it's got this pulley system, so you can actually have it, going do like the whole pulley thing for it.
Okay, interesting.
These were meant to integrate with and compete with the GI Joe line, same scale and everything else, but they called this Freedom Force. And I had a recent live stream where we were just talking about toys and finding stuff and everything else, and I was trying to figure out what the hell this was called, and we were doing searches for like an hour and a half, and chat helped me find it, and I freaked out because I hadn't seen this thing. I'd almost forgotten it existed. It was just a random memory that came up. This is one of the most functional vehicles of any toy line I've ever seen. You've got seats for two in the front. You've got guns that... Let me just get this stuff out here. Oh, this is insane. This is so insane. So I'm going to open this up, see what we got inside of here. Looks like they've reused a star case for stuff, and I see a sticker already. All right, here we go. Come on now. There we go. So right away, it was repacked on some level. It's got a Godzilla sticker in it. Everyone knows I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and that's not just a joke about my size. Thank you. Very thoughtful. So we got a note. Here we go. And is confirmed to be from Bjorn. He says, "The thrill of the hunt is almost always greater than finding the treasure. Now that we found it, was a massive thank you to a world made of cardboard, which is the user that was able to track it down. You get to enjoy your treasure. With kind donations from Mr. James Salzberg, the Epic Badger, and myself, we got you a complete, I believe in almost perfect condition, Nyland Freedom Force helicopter. Enjoy."
Very nice.
Very nice. This is something that, when I was a kid, this was an impulse purchase. My dad and I were at a Children's Palace or a KB, and I saw this, and as with many of the toys of the era, it was inexpensive, it was random, and he bought it for me, and I played the hell out of this thing. It came with some 3 3/4-inch figures, like so. Put the sticker in there as a surprise. I bet you did. But it's got the whole pulley system. It does come with one of the guns. There are two. Has this gun, and it has the barrel. Oh wait, hang on. All right, okay. It has the one. I apologize. It has one gun, which it has a stretcher you put on the other skid, which is nice. The gun is complete, but it looks like it broke off either in transit or before they packed it. But it's a clean break. Little bit of plastic weld. It'll be good as new. Came with the missiles and everything else. But as near as I can tell, this is indeed complete. And it's a huge, huge treasure. Thank you, guys. To go from a few weeks ago, having a latent memory of something I had forgotten existed, to immediately all those memories come flooding to the surface because these folks were just unrelenting in helping me figure out what the hell it was. Here we are a few weeks later, and motherfuckers got together and said, well, we're going to get him that toy, which is unbelievably kind and such a treat. And I thank you guys so unbelievably much for helping me reconnect with my father on a visceral level. Like, this is like shrine to dad kind of a thing. And as most of you know, he is no longer with us, so it makes it extremely special to me. Very, very cool, and I cannot wait to play with this thing. And I'm not going to be doing it right here on stream because that would be very undignified. But as I pack this up, folks, let's start moving towards Q&A. Bring them up for myself, for Jay. Anything you want to know about anything we've discussed or anything we haven't discussed, let's go ahead and hop into this stuff. But I'm just looking through some of these comments here. See, the only thing messed up on is a small scuff on the front sticker. Didn't even notice it, so it's fine. That's for sure. And Gigi's like, glad someone else other than me had that in mind. Yeah, I can see my dick, asshole. Like, it's yeah, bright light. Yes.
Oh man, that's good.
Oh, that's good stuff. It's good. So the first question is, Jay, you streaming tonight?
Probably so. I think I will. Yeah, why not?
All right.
I got nothing better to do. I'll hang out with y'all.
And if you want to see Jay stream some retro games, and if you want to hear him utter the phrase "fuck this game," there's a link in the description right to his channel as well as the Game Chasers channel. Yeah, of course. We got to take care of family around here. Let me get this box out of here because I'm going to keep this nice. That's a nice size box for that, Bjorn. Thank you. So what I miss? A childhood toy and a childhood memory brought back to life. A Nylint Freedom Force helicopter from the mid-'80s. Very cool stuff. You're now being asked, Jay, how big is your arcade collection? You said 75, right?
About 75, yeah. I've got a spreadsheet, so yeah, we're right at about 75. I'd like to open with as close to 100 as possible.
There you go.
That's the goal.
There you go. Question from Ricky Starfox, aka Marlene Strain. Which Godzilla is my favorite? Godzilla Reborn /84/85. So that mid 80s one is probably the best Godzilla model that's ever existed. And it's one of the ones I don't have a figure of at this time. I've got the original Gojira from 54, and I have a 2004 from Final Wars. I don't have a 2014 or the 84 at this time. Do I plan on getting more the other Nylint vehicle? There's only one other one that I'm aware of. Yes, I would very much like to get that because that was something I never got a chance to get. Echo Base asks Jay, what happened to the toy show you were doing with Eric and RGT85?
So we started, what did we call that? The toy aisle. And I think that's on Eric. No, did we start a new fucking YouTube for that? Is a toy podcast, and we hit a couple of episodes, and then I know at one point I got sick with COVID, and then there was some traveling and stuff right there, and these are all just a bunch of excuses, and we need to get back on it.
There you go. So nothing really happened. You're just taking a break. You'll be back.
Yeah.
When is the next Toy Chasers? That is the eternal question.
That's a good question. And now that this movie is at least done to a point where we've done the premiere, I think Billy will have a little bit more free time on his hands, and we'll be able to go out looking more for toys and games in the very near future.
So, and yeah. I don't mind saying that there was some Toy Chasers footage filmed at Retropalooza that you might recognize somebody from it if he makes it into the cut. Just saying.
Yes.
Just saying. What is your least favorite arcade game?
You know what sucks? There's a game called Journey, and it's supposed to be like after the band Journey. It's just not good. It's not good. That immediately came to mind, so I'm going to go with that one.
That is a good question. I used to work, as you know, I used to work in an arcade, so I was around them quite a bit. Mm-hmm. I will go with a poorly packed Neo Geo cart. So where you
Okay.
have like a poor variety, or you have like 3 Metal Slug versions, and then like Nam, and it's like it's what just a shooter cabinet at that point. And
Right.
even though the games might be good in it, it's a poor combination to drive business to that cabinet. So I think Neo Geos, if you don't do them quite the right way, can be one of the worst things in your arcade.
Sure.
Personally, do you have any Terminator arcades?
I don't. I am on the lookout for the one that has the mounted light guns on it. Think like Revolution X, the Aerosmith game, if you will, or Operation Wolf
Hmm.
has the mounted gun. I'm
Hmm.
on the lookout for that.
Yeah, Operation Wolf is one that I'm a huge fan of. In fact, it was the second Nintendo game I ever bought.
The
Um,
sequel to that on arcade is Operation Thunderbolt, and that one actually has two guns mounted. The Operation Wolf arcade
yeah,
game only has one.
Wolf has more nostalgia for me, but Thunderbolt is arguably the better game. Not just because of the 2-player action, but it's good. So if you get a Thunderbolt in the thing, I'll be playing that a lot. Just saying. Um, here's a somewhat. I know the answer to this one. Jay, have you ever played the original Turtles in Time arcade cabinet?
I have. Those are pretty difficult to find. They're a lot more rare, I guess, than the original Turtles arcade
Hmm.
cab, which I do have a Turtles. I don't have a Turtles in Time. If I ever see one, yeah, I'll pick it up. But yeah,
So you would be more in tune with this than I would, but I've read things where like a lot of folks took the original Ninja Turtles and then they converted it to Turtles in Time,
right.
but some places converted it back, which maybe might account for the rarity of the Turtles in Time. Do you think that that's necessarily true?
So yeah, probably. Now I hear an echo from me. I don't hear the weird noise anymore. Now I just hear the echo. Anyways, so what happened was back in the day they would sell conversion kits, and this is where you would see like a Tekken, let's say, where maybe you had the second one, and then they would just send the conversion kit. So for the operator,
Hmm.
operator being the guy who owns the arcade, it was a lot cheaper to just buy the board, side art, and the new marquee and throw it on there. And I believe
Right.
there was definitely conversion kits sold for the Ninja Turtles games because it's going to be set up the exact same way, being a 4-player game.
Right.
Um, I don't think no, I don't think we saw a whole lot of conversions being converted back. Turtles in Time did have its own dedicated machine as well. How many people would have? I mean, it's hard to say. It's honestly hard to say.
Echo Base asks, "Are you going to fix your mic and turn off the Rusty Swing option when you turn the stream tonight on your channel?" Although I'm hearing that the sound is gone, so
I'm gonna fix
yes,
your mic. You're a rusty
that's
swing.
right. And full disclosure, Melvor is Jay's brother. This is part of why he's asking this question.
Oh, why am I such a butt face?
Yes, sir.
If I'm the butt face and I got all the good genes, what does that make you? Just saying.
I know you are, but what am I? Is basically what you just said, which is totally okay between two brothers.
I accept it.
Favorite game console?
Favorite game console? Oof. NES is up there. PS2 is up there. Uh, PS4 might be up there as well. But you said 1, not 3, right? So I'll go. Ooh, damn, that's difficult. I'll go. I'll go. I'll go PS2. NES. PS2. PS2.
Fair enough. Is it because of the big library and like some memories with that, or like
The
what?
library is huge, man. There's what
Mm-hmm.
2,500 ish games, 2,000 plus games, something like that, and they were
Yep.
quality because you got into an era of gaming where obviously the graphics were way better than NES,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the like classics were started on that. God of War. It's one of my favorite game franchises that was started on
Sure.
that. The Fight Night series is freaking phenomenal. I love Fight Night Round 2. Champions is good, and so is 4, which we need another Fight Night, EA, if you're listening. Tony
Mm-hmm.
Hawk. Tony Hawk was big on that, and that's where I played Tony Hawk was that. Madden, I didn't get into Madden until Madden 2000 on the PlayStation 2, just because the gameplay and everything just took a whole new, it went to a whole new era level.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going with that.
Yes, too. So I'll pick up the slack and say NES because although I loved video games prior to that, my first major console was a ColecoVision. Went back to an Atari. Those were great. Those were fun. When the NES hit, that's where the obsession began. It's where it began. To quote the game trailer, the Game Chasers movie trailer, Adventures of Game Chasing trailer. I think I'll play this forever. And it really does. There's nothing quite like putting an NES cartridge in the NES console and playing it on that controller on your couch.
Sure.
Nothing comes close. Nothing comes close. Although arguably there are better consoles with larger libraries, even games I might have better memories of. Just the NES experience for me pushes it way over the top. Way over the top. Tongue-tastic. Hey, look at you. Nice
What's
to
up,
see you.
fantastic?
It's good to see you. Aha. So yours is so Journey is the ET of arcade cabinets.
Um, I'm sure there's worse out there, but it's pretty sucky.
Yeah, that's for sure. Bum 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 bum. Star Fox says if the deal goes through, it might have a T2 arcade. It has 2 guns on it. Can take it to Retrospalooza for you, but I don't want to confirm anything yet. I'd
You
play the
bring me
shit
an
out of that.
arcade to use for the weekend, you'll get in free. How about that?
And I'll buy you a beer.
Done.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I'll buy him a beer. I might buy you a beer too, though.
Okay. All right.
Of course, I'll buy you a beer, Jake. For Christ's sake. Rafe asks, what underrated toy line do you two feel deserves a modern re-release like He-Man and TMNT?
You want to go first?
I can, sure. I would go so far as to say Starriers. Starriers, Tommy Starriers. They had the wind up where they had the guns coming out or whatever, they had drills and all these different things. The plastic they were made from is pretty brittle. They're not horrible to find, but they're pricier than they should be for what they are. And they were just fun. Would love to see that in a larger scale.
It's pretty obscure. I like that. I like that answer. How about re-releasing like Crash Test Dummies or something?
Yeah, that would be neat.
Those kind of obscure toy line then and pretty hard to find now. Like that might be kind of neat. Which there was a whole ad campaign and the cartoon and all that stuff back in the day. But
and the video games.
Yeah, there was video games. Correct. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Crash Test Dummies.
I could go with that, and the reason they're hard to find, they were always falling up. There was pieces everywhere.
Yeah, Battle Beast is a good one too, though. Battle Beast is a good one too.
Yeah,
I like Battle Beast.
What I'd love to see with Battle Beast, make it like at least a 4-inch scale, so you have some articulation, and give it a little bit more lore. There'd be some cool things to do with it because I think the concept was always cool, but it was a hard sell to my folks. So they're like, they don't do anything. They don't
do anything. They just kind of sit there, right? Well, it's like muscle
like
figures.
Funko Pops.
Either. Hey, not wrong. Not wrong.
Yes. Have you ever played the arcade version of Pod Racer? I have not.
Oh, dude, it's fun. Like you actually sit in it, and the part that you sit in, the cockpit part, it actually looks like Anakin's Pod Racer. It's painted up the same way and everything. And you do the controls. Yeah. So like if you want to turn, you're going to do it like this to try to make him turn. And then, full forward is just go. It's very, very, very fun.
So Star Fox agrees to our deal. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was looking at one that was in San Antonio, and before I wasn't the first person to contact on him. Someone bought it and then relisted it. I've seen it on Marketplace relisted for like almost 3.5 times what they bought it for. So,
wow,
it is what it is.
Melvor says Crystar. Good pull. I would also say that if we're going Crystar, why not Black Star? And if for no other reason, selfishly, the one thing I want from the Black Star line is the damn dragon. And I would love to see them remake that dragon with articulation and not in a brittle plastic that'll fall apart by you looking at it wrong. So, which a lot of Crystar stuff has the same problem. Like the castle for not Battlestar, but that Battlestar? No, yes, wait. I'm getting the name wrong, but the castle for it was made out of this really, really horribly brittle stuff, and if you try to ship it, it just falls. It just goes to dust in the thing. So it's why I have not collected that line up at this point. Current favorite arcade game. So when you say current favorite, you mean current favorite of all time? I'm assuming. I'll go with it that way.
Current favorite arcade game, if either of you have one, any specific one. Current favorite. You know what? I'll answer it in both ways. And this is the first answer is kind of cheating because it's not an arcade game. But modern day pinballs. There's three big companies right now: Jersey Jacks, Stern, and who's the third? Anyways, they are making some pretty damn good pinball machines these days. And I really like the Stranger Things pinball machine. That one's pretty legit. If we're talking more old school, I love Miss Pac-Man with Speed Chip, Donkey Kong. We want to go a little bit newer school than that. Favorite light gun game all time, Area 51. Of course, Tekken. Yeah, those are my answers.
All right. For me, it's weird because they're tied. Tekken 2 and Ultimate MK3.
Okay.
Like those two are my two favorite arcade cabs of all time. Honorable mention goes to the original Star Wars with the trench. You know, you had the stand up or the sit down, either one. I loved the Vector Star Wars stuff. And honorable mention probably would go to obviously Operation Wolf, stuff like that. And Ninja Turtles, because everyone loves Ninja Turtles. It's too easy of an answer. And before I go any further, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I was throw Tapper in there as well. Tapper, I love Tapper.
I was surprised you didn't mention that, and yeah. I'm pulling for you to get the original Budweiser one. That it's got to be that. And
actually,
you could do
that's easier to find than the root beer one because
really,
yeah. Well, originally the Budweiser Tapper was in bars, like 21 and up bars, and they realized that they could probably make some more money on it if they rebranded it with root beer and put it in actual arcades. So it's actually the Budweiser is a little bit easier to find.
And what I meant to say earlier was Black Star, which I might have already said, and I just so Black Star is the toy that I'm talking about. Moses Gaming asks, "What shooters do you currently have for the barcade?"
Oh God, Beast Busters. I have the Aerosmith Revolution X. I have Invasion. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. The two shooters that I think I have to have, I don't have an Area 51 yet, unfortunately, and I have to have some kind of House of the Dead and or Time Crisis. I don't have either one of those yet. My goal is to have a variety, and in that variety. So not just your typical like Area 51, but your mounted light guns as well. And I didn't even name everything I have. I think I have probably 5 or 6 shooters right now. And then racers. I want stand-up racers. I want sit-down racers. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean with variety inside variety. But yeah, I think a House of the Dead and Area 51 are really the only 2 light gun games I would need, and I'd be like, okay, I'm good and comfortable with what I have.
Do you have an OG Ridge Racer?
No, I don't.
Interesting. Is Paperboy something you're eyeing for the barcade?
I would like to have a Paperboy for the arcade. That is a very unique machine. It has like handlebars. Like if you're riding a BMX, like if you're an actual Paperboy. Yes. So yes is the short answer. Long answer is it is very, very, very expensive. I'm gonna say that one is probably in the neighborhood of like $2,000 to $3,000. So it may not be something I open with, but once money starts coming in, I could definitely splurge a little bit and go after bigger items like that. It's kind of like Tapper. Tapper is probably in the $2,500-$3,500 range. It's pretty nuts. Those are some pretty high dollar ones. I'd like to have it. Paperboy on arcade is hard. Actually, it's really hard. Yeah, it's very difficult.
People bitch about the NES version, but it's like it's nothing compared to
Oh,
the
the NES
arcade,
version
man.
is so fun. I love the NES version.
And I think it has to do with you actually had the handlebars in the arcade, which made it that much more
Right.
difficult, right?
Yes, it did. It made it more difficult to control. So, good question.
Yeah. And Echo Base says that Tron's a must have. What do you think?
I'm sorry, say again.
Tron for the arcade.
Is Tron a must have? No, I don't think it's a must have. I think it's one of those games where it's like, oh, cool, they do have this. You know, your must haves are going to be your Street Fighter 2, your Mortal Kombat 2, some sort of Tekken 3 or Tag or something. As far as fighters go, you kind of almost must have an Area 51, a House of the Dead, Time Crisis. You must have Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man. Um, you must have Turtles. You must have Simpsons. Those are the machines where you go, yeah, it was really cool, but they didn't have Simpsons. They didn't
Right.
have Turtles. They didn't have. I think Tron would be something where it's like, oh wow, I can't believe they had a Tron. That's what I think.
Right.
Um, that's what I think.
I hear you. Jim Bo says, now that he's a movie star, get all the arcade cabinets, no excuses. I mean,
What's
for
up,
once,
Jimbo?
you are wrong because we're not making a lot of cake off of this whole movie
Yeah.
endeavor. It'd
One,
be nice if that happened.
I'm not a movie star. Like I had to make my own movie for me to be in one. So
Right.
once we can, get into the what is it? Get into the black on that, then
Right.
maybe we'll see. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
Daniel Dorian asks if either of us have played the Japanese Castlevania arcade game that came out the year after the first one. I have not,
I have not either.
but I've heard many good things about it. It would be great to sit down and play a Belmont on a stand-up. It would be great, outside of like a choice, play choice or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now Echo Base asks if you're going to hire Melvor to be the arcade maintenance man, give him a competitive benefits package.
Am I going to hire Melvor as the maintenance man? Was that the question?
That's the question.
No, fuck no. I want the machines to get fixed. No, Melvor's an idiot. Like I wouldn't even hire him to be the bathroom attendant. You kidding me? No, he's a dumb.
Wow.
Just saying.
I mean, it's a whole thing. But I know that Pete is someone that you're probably tapping for that actual job, and he'd be a good get just because he knows more than any of us put together, I think.
He knows a lot about
things.
electronics, yeah. So me and
Yeah.
Pete have definitely been in contact about him moving out here once this thing does get open. I mean, if anyone listening wants to, invest, just send me a message on Instagram, I guess. But like, I want to get this thing open. I want to get it open quick.
Yeah. And at this point, and this is one of the things I was joking about at Retropalooza, and it's less of a joke the longer time goes on. The biggest benefit to me for the barcade being open is that 16-bit Pete's going to be in town. That's aside from the obvious.
You two could become besties. Once that happens, go for it. Have at it.
What are you saying? We're not already besties? Nice kid.
I don't know that you are or aren't. I'm just saying.
I don't know either. I know nothing. I drink a lot and I'm old.
Hey,
so who knows what's happening? Who knows? Nothing. For all I know, I'm not really me right now. Are you really you? Life is a dream. I don't know. It's the whole thing. In any case, though, I want to thank you, my friend, for
2-bit Pete.
Whoo! Ha! All right. All right. Last question from VK MTV Studios. Jay, will you ever admit to being jealous of Billy's singing career?
Oh God, here we fucking go. So first of all, what's up, VKM Studios? He's a regular in my streams. Will I ever admit to being jealous of Billy's singing career? I would have to actually be jealous of said career before I could admit being jealous of said career. So I guess the answer is no, sir.
There you go.
Just saying.
Daniel Dorian's asking, is Pete another YouTuber? Yes, 16-bit Pete. Look him up. I have a link to him in both of my Retropalooza recap videos. Right here on this channel. I don't have the top of my head, but if you look up 16-bit Pete, You'll find him. It's I think we might have to get him a T-shirt. I'm just saying, might have to get him a T-shirt of that. I think
No
it's pretty cool.
nuts.
That's
Done.
right. 2 bits, no nuts. That would be the
Hey,
back of
now.
the shirt right there. There
Hey,
you go.
now.
I love the man. You know, the whole thing. But
He's all
printing
right.
on a shirt
He's
that
all
large,
right.
he's a good guy. He really is.
Yeah.
He's a really sweet fella and knowledgeable, which helps. But anyway, so I want to thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I do not take it for granted. Even if I have friends that want to come on the show, your time is still the most valuable thing that you have in life. So thank you for giving me so much of it, sharing your knowledge, and retreading a lot of stuff that you know we avoided a lot of the tropes. But there was still some stuff where I'm like, cringe. He's answered that question like 97 billion
That's
times.
all right. Like I said, man, the person asking it hadn't heard the answer before. So
fair enough. So I would love to have you on again some other time,
for
but
sure.
not for a while because things. I
Okay.
want you to have time to do the things you love. Things. But at any rate,
Thanks.
thank you for being here. I know they can find you on the Game Chasers. They can find you on your own channel, which is linked below. They can find you at the best cons in the United States, Retropalooza SoCal Gaming Expo.
Right on.
Soon at a barcade that has yet to be named, which is a trend in our extended family of people. You don't name things until the last second, I find.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah. That's true.
It's all right, though. It's okay. But is there any parting words or things to promote you'd like to let people know about?
No, I think you kind of screw me. Screw you, Melvor, you freaking idiots. Oof. You've been asking for it for a while, buddy. No, I don't really have anything. Just thank you for letting me invade the stream. I appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure, brother. It's nice to be on the receiving end for once, because it's a whole thing. So, because every so often, I'll be in your stream like doing the thing.
Right. No, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, exactly. So sounds like he'll be streaming later tonight. So if you are interested in catching up with him or asking him a question that didn't get answered tonight, go ahead, follow the Shitty J show, get notifications on, and he streams in the evenings. So for those of you that are overseas or are night owls, it's a perfect thing for you. For fat guys like me that fall asleep relatively early, midnight, I don't get in there as much as I'd like. So fly the flag of the grind HQ when you're in there and have a good time. So thank you for being here, guys. I think we're out of here. Good night to one and all.
Thank y'all.